And on this panel we have with us Abha Saghal, one of the most innovative teachers that I know. She started off at Sri Ram School, made enormous changes over there, and then went on to the Middle East, was there for a few years, and now is the principal of Sanskriti School, and again doing some really amazing work in teacher education and in the ways in which instruction is given in classrooms. Thank you so much for being with us, Abha. And we have Anita Roy with us. Anita comes from the world of publishing. She's with Zuban, which is a feminist publishing house, which comes from Kali. Kali was the mother publishing house from which Zuban has come. And they have been looking at, and Anita has been looking at young adult publishing and, looking at what is it that young adults should be giving, basically. She's also done some very, very good work on looking at all the publishing that's been happening in the country and choosing the 100 best books that have been published. So she knows a lot about what kind of books are being written in the country and what kind of writing is being presented to children. And I'm very, very happy to have you with us, Anita, over here. Thank you for being here. And of course we have Mr. Sikander. Sikander has become a very, very good friend over time. And he is the director of the National Book Trust. Now we all know that when Nehruji set up the National Book Trust, it was with this idea that बच्चों के लिए किताब मिलना है, अच्छी किताबें मिलना है. So what is it that we can do to bring all these different languages? How do we do translations for children? How do we present the heterogeneity which is our country to children from a very, very early age? Sikander himself comes from an academic background. He comes from Madurai. He's very, very happy to say he's from Madurai. And he comes from a land. Madurai had the first university many, many years ago. Madurai University has been known from ancient times. And he comes from that kind of Sangam, it's called the Sangam literature. And it comes from the 2nd century BC, was the second coming together of poets and writers in Madurai. So it's the Sangam literature period, and they all came together for a conference. It was a literary conference that happened 2000 years ago. It's from that kind of a culture that, Sikander comes, and that's what he brings to bear. No, Sikander, I had to mention that. I had to mention that. Because that is what he constantly, he keeps talking of that, and he draws, his inspiration from that, I think. So he's brought a lot of creativity to the way in which National Book Trust has looked at books, publishing and children, how they can get reading. So he is reinventing many of the things that Nehruji spoke about in very, very new ways. So we are very happy to have you with us today. Thank you. We have 10 minutes for each one of you. And
good afternoon, rather, all of you. And I can see a lot of enthusiasm in this auditorium. And it's like I was telling yesterday, somehow I feel a bit of a stranger in my own school, because this is a new environment, new zest that I'm seeing in my own school, and I'm thankful to Geeta ji for having created this environment in Sanskriti. I'll take over from what Anshu ji said, कि reading एक magic कैसे create होता है reading में, how do we create this magic? And yes, her last the ending of her speech, which was really an amazement, where she said that I'm really surprised that that there's something called reading for pleasure, and we are being, the moment you put that word assessment, and the moment you start doing comprehension exercises on reading, who said to whom and why did he say this, that the pleasure is no longer over there. You have to create an environment, you have to create situations, you have to both parents and teachers, let me just speak from my own experience as a parent, as a teacher, as the head of an institution. What are the strategies that worked for me when I was bringing up my own 2 children, and when I've been and with these 2,800 children that are there in Sanskriti. We have a number of strategies, and I would just want to share them with all of you. creating a love for reading is, and we need to create that. It's not like somebody is a born singer or a born dancer, or those are God-given gifts. I very strongly feel that the interest, the love for reading needs to be inculcated. It needs to be, we need to work upon it, but to work upon it in a subtle manner, just as Anshuji said. So we do it as a partnership with parents. Schools and parents must be partners in this. We have to be partners in this in order to create that environment, in order to create a situation, in order to create an atmosphere which promotes, which creates that love for reading, and which creates which ensures that the magic of reading is going to last forever. Few strategies. We tell our parents that at home, and I think ma'am talked about it, when we were in my office yesterday, you were talking about creating spaces for reading. I think that's a wonderful thing. In classes, in our libraries, at homes, if we create a little space where there's just a bean bag or some cushions, I tell my librarian, just have books thrown in a wicker basket, in a cane basket. Just keep them in the so that the children can handle them easily. The same can be done at home, creating a wonderful atmosphere, where the children are attracted towards it. They will pick up a book and they will. So creating corners, creating spaces, that really works wonderfully in bringing magic to this to reading. It becomes magical then. It becomes something different rather than just opening a text, a Dickens or any other author, and reading it for pleasure, which is going to be assessed ultimately. So these are things. This is one strategy which really works beautifully. The other thing that I have felt, and I've done it as a parent, and I always tell my parents, just having a pleasure trip to bookstores, just going to bookshops. These are very simple things, but creating that excitement. I feel that with children, for anything to be effective, you have to create that excitement. It has to be exaggerated. There has to be an hyperbole in everything. That's when the children get excited. So to create. I always tell parents that even when you're watching. When the children are watching television, watch the television together, talk about it, have expressions of dismay or excitement or whatever, and children will develop that excitement and that attraction towards whatever they are watching. Same thing with books, take them to, we in schools, we take them to monuments, it has its value, we take them to parks, let us also consciously put in our curriculum a visit to a bookstore. Let's go to bookstores, and tell parents. And once we do it in school, the children will ensure that the parents will also take them. So when they go to a mall, it is not just to go to ride on a train or whatever. There's excitement in going to a bookstore also. Just flipping through the books, looking at the pictures, getting excited about you. There has to be that excitement created about bookstores also. So it should begin with schools, and we must do that. Trips must be organized around them, and that's and there are lots of bookstores that are encouraging this. They will give you some reading space also. You can take them in small batches, but this is for teachers, that you must organize that. It should be a part of your trip. I've given this strategy to a lot of parents, and they've said they worked. I said, this is again creating a hype around reading. I've said, do funny things or different things, like just do a candlelight reading session, create an atmosphere, just have candles all around, have a book, and start reading. And the idea is, again, that I would feel is reading for pleasure, having fun, just reading, reading aloud and creating a little different atmosphere. You sit together, you say, okay, we are going to put candles all around, or we're going to light a different kind of an atmosphere, and you pick up books and you start reading. So you are then creating a bond between books and the children. You're creating that inseparable bond. That a very strong one, which is going to stay with them for life. So they will then, it will become a part of it will become a part of the DNA, so to say, that I have to have a book with me. And let us also understand that we have to evolve even in our in how we are reading. As a person, at my age, where my habits have become pretty set, and I don't like to change, but I have realized that I have to change. I cannot stick to, and similarly, how we read and what we read needs to also evolve. So if your children are talking about e-books and they want to know about the Kindle and they want to know about, you should know about it, and you should be aware of what these. You should not say no, just pick up a paper book and you need to just read that. Let's not do that. Though we would personally we would prefer to do that. We would want to do it because we've grown up with those books. But understand that our children are digital natives. They've been born to a different world, and we have to accept it. We have to grow along with them. We have to learn along with them. And always children will learn well, and children will develop the right values, etc. when we are a part of them. We cannot sit up on a pedestal and preach. And somebody was talking about values. You were saying that I think जिन्होंने हिंदी की कविता बोली थी उन्होंने भी, और किसी और ने कहा था कि जो haves है, मैं उनको, आपने सही कहा, मैं उनको मार्जिनलाइज नहीं कह, मैं उनको मेन स्ट्रीम नहीं कह सकती, बिल्कुल नहीं कह सकती, कि कैसे हम ये वैल्यूज क्रिएट करें, चाहे वो वैल्यूज हो, चाहे वो सही वर्क हैबिट्स हो, चाहे वो सही एटीट्यूड्स हो. ये सब हम बहुत आसानी से अपने बच्चों में क्रिएट कर सकते हैं अगर हम उनके साथ, वी आर वॉकिंग अलोंग विद देम, वी आर अ पार्ट ऑफ देम. So when we do that, we are learning from each other. Let us not be under any misconception that we are teaching our children things. We are not teaching our children anything. We are learning together. We are growing together and we are learning together. There's a lot of inherent knowledge and a whole lot of things that are there in our children. It's already there, So we just need to be there with them to draw that out and to learn the same from our children. जिस दिन आपने ये सोच लिया कि हम morals preach करेंगे और ये बच्चे, हमारे जमाने में तो ये नहीं होता था, इस जमाने में ये होता है, हर जमाने में यही चीजें होती थी, हम अपने जमाने की सिर्फ अच्छाइयाँ याद करते हैं, वो जो हम लोगों ने गलतियां करी थी या जो हमने बंक करी थी क्लासेस या हमने जो गड़बड़ियां, वो हम बड़ी कन्वीनियंटली भूल जाते हैं. बच्चे जो है वो हर एज में उतने ही बुरे हैं, उतने ही अच्छे हैं जैसे कि हम थे, So ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है. The moment we start thinking that they are different from us, and that we have been brought up with values and we are whatever, and we can sit on a pedestal and we can preach, we've killed it. तभी वो problems होंगी जो आप कह रहे हैं ना, जो BMWs or whatever names I don't know much about cars, but जो भी आप लोगों ने, वो problems तभी होती हैं. दोनों parents और teachers को ये समझना चाहिए that these are children, and somebody used that beautiful word of celebrating the child. We have to celebrate our children. We just have to understand our children. They are wonderful people. बच्चे तो वही हैं कि जिस घर में भी पैदा हुए हैं, जहाँ पर भी है, बच्चे वही हैं. उनकी सोच वैसी ही है. ये कहीं ना कहीं हम adults उसको गड़बड़ कर देते हैं. So as teachers, as parents, I think let us not constantly keep telling ourselves that it's our responsibility to do this for our children and do that and give ourselves that halo and say that we can do all this, we can transform. No, we are growing along with them. We are learning along with them. We are walking along with them. And when we do that, we are not only walking the talk, You know, we are not only doing that, but we are giving the impression to our children that we are with you, rather than we are away from you and just giving and preaching you. So whether it is the magic of books, or it is values, or it is attitudes, or whatever, let us move along with our children. Let us understand that times are changing. We must appreciate that the world of our children is a different world from ours when we were their age. We have to appreciate, we have to learn, we have to move along, and we have to, while we talk about our own experiences, we have to appreciate the new experiences of our children. We have to appreciate, and we have to be a part of it. So I think this is how we will be able to see that reading survives in today's times, when everything is just so easily accessible, and it's the click of a mouse, as they said. You know, everything is there. Reading will survive only if we are able to move along with times. And we preserve certain core values, and that's why I talked about taking them to bookshops. This school, we encourage having book exhibitions on a very regular basis, and just having it in. If we can't take our children to the bookshop, we get the bookshop into the school, you know. So we do that, and and creating an excitement around books, huge lot of excitement around books. I think that's what's needed, because our children love excitement, they just love excitement. और आपने सही कहा कि बच्चे जिनके पास इतना कुछ इतनी व्यवस्था नहीं उनके अपने घरों में, वो बहुत ही क्रिएटिव होते हैं, बहुत ही ज़्यादा ऑब्जर्व करते हैं. मेरे अपने एक्सपीरियंस में मैंने देखा है कि ऐसे बच्चे जो है, इनफैक्ट जब से आरटी आए, बहुत ज़्यादा परेशानियां लोगों को हुई कि कैसे करना चाहिए, अब तो सिलेबस डाइल्यूट हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. थोड़ा सा मैंने भी सोचा कि क्या होगा, क्योंकि अब नंबर बहुत साइजेबल, काफ़ी सिग्निफिकेंट है जो उन बच्चों का जो फर्स्ट जनरेशन लर्नर्स है, कैसे करें. बट मैं सिर्फ ये पॉलिटिकली करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट नहीं है, दिस इज अ स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉम समबडी हु इज एन एजुकेशनिस्ट, एंड सो आई विल गिव यू my experience that it has only enriched schools. It has brought a wonderful diversity into schools, which is India. Diversity is India. So if our schools are becoming like this, it's a reflection of our own country. So we are not away from reality any longer, If we so it's really something which it has its challenges. And those challenges are always going to be there, whether RT or no RT. Bringing up children is always a challenge, So let us not attribute it to that. अब challenges बढ़ गए तो हमारी हिम्मत भी ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है, हमारी सोच भी ज़्यादा तीव्र हो गई है, हम लोग. So I don't know. I come completely unprepared. I don't know what I was going to talk about, and I said I'm going to talk for just 5 minutes, and I think I've spoken for a longer time. So before I'm told to stop, I better stop myself and give the mic.
Abha, I can't tell you what joy it brings to this young publisher's heart to see you extolling the virtues of bookshops. So I think, yes, taking kids to bookshops is very good. Giving them money to spend at bookshops is even better. Enthusing parents and children about the joys of reading is something that I am wholeheartedly behind as aunt. But one of the things that I have seen over the last, say, 10 years. I mean, Young Zuban, which is the publishing imprint that I run, started up about 8 years ago. And at that point, we didn't have a children's literature festival. We didn't have a national book prize for children. We didn't have any training for the adults who were involved in children's writing or publishing. We didn't have specialist actually, I don't think we still have, but specialist courses for illustrators, specifically on children's illustration. We had none of these things. And now we're in a very happy situation, and we didn't have a book guide. And one of the things that I've been hearing from a lot of people this morning is, why aren't our children reading Indian books? Where are the Indian books? Where are the Indian authors? Why is CBSE going to whoever they're going to, Wordsworth or at least foreign book. Where are the Indian stories for our Indian children? So now, 8 years down the line, we not only have a much, much more diverse publishing field where we have new imprints like Duckbill, Anushka from Duckbill, we have Red Turtle, we have Wisdom Tree, we have, of course, we have Tara and Tulika and Katha and NBT and CBT. We also have a much greater diversity of publishers out there publishing different kinds of books, which I think is very, very healthy. We also have Bookaroo, which we all love, Children's Literature Festival, much excitement, yay! And the kids absolutely adore going to that and actually meeting authors and getting to see such a great range of books and activities. We also have the Crossword Book Prize set up, a children's book prize, which is great. At least there is one national book prize for a country which accounts for, you know, 1/5 of the world's population. It's nice they have at least one book prize for children's books. And I am personally probably the proudest to be the publisher of this little, slim, but I think incredibly important book, which is called 101 Indian Children's Books We Love. Now, it's taken me and my co-editor Samina about 3 years to put this together, although you wouldn't kind of think it looking at how small it is. But initially we wanted to, the idea was to come up with the kind of definitive. This is the definitive list. If you don't read anything else, read these 100 books. If you don't have, you know, it needed to be kind of authoritative and something that people take seriously. So we thought, okay, who should we ask to come up with this list of authoritative books? It needed to be people, school principals, directors of important institutions, people sitting on the board of CBSE and ICSE and so on. And it was actually completely impossible. We thought, well, I mean, what books are they going to come up with, and why, and how, and is that actually what we want? And then we thought, no, we actually don't want the definitive list of books. What we want, and what we think is special about children's books, is that there is an emotional connection. And I think that all of us, probably sitting here in this room, had that one book that we stumbled across in our early childhood, where we just went, oh, I love this book. Oh, I just love this book. Read it again, read it again, read it again. And we wanted to actually not have the definitive list of books, but we wanted to have the books that people loved. It's completely subjective, and we're very proud of that. It's not completely subjective, actually. But we're proud of its subjectivity. So we asked people, a range of people, children, parents, writers, publishers, all sorts of people, to choose their favourite books, choose the books that they had that emotional connection to. And we finally came up with 101. And I think that for teachers and for librarians, and even for bookstores, because a lot of bookstores, we love the idea of bookstores, but quite often when we go in there, we're a little disappointed at the range, and sometimes you just have like Indian writers all stacked in one corner, higgledy-piggledy, and so we thought that at least we now have something where we can say, start with this. It's a good starting point. It's not everything. What we would really love is for people to tell us that, why didn't you put this book in? Because we want to come out with a new edition every year, we want to update it, we want to have different kinds of books in there. We want to have eventually a situation where we have 101 books in Hindi that children love, 101 Bengali books, 101 horror stories, 101 picture books. So this is just for us the beginning of something, but I think it's an important beginning. The other thing that I was struck by this morning is that we're all saying, how do we motivate our children to read more? How do we excite them? How do we grab them? And I was thinking, it's very much to do with the voice. And one of the saddest things for me about growing up to becoming an adult person was that nobody was telling me stories anymore, and I really love being told stories. And there's something of a kind of special place that you go in your head when a really good storyteller is telling you a story, right? And when you're away from when the story is finished and you're away from the person, you retain something of the nuances, the pauses, the timbre of the person's voice in your head, in your little imaginative space, so that although to some outside person you appear to be sitting silently, reading to yourself, actually you've got this crowd in your head which is chattering away. And I can see like two, I think, small children in the audience, but I can see a lot of small people disguised as big people in the audience. So I'm just going to read you a tiny story, which goes like this. There was once, in the country of Alif Bay, a sad city. The saddest of cities, a city so ruinously sad that it had forgotten its name. It stood by a mournful sea full of glum fish, which were so miserable to eat that they made people belch with melancholy, even though the skies were blue. In the north of the sad city stood a mighty factory, which, I'm told, sadness was actually manufactured, packaged, and sent all over the world, which never seemed to get enough of it. Black smoke poured out of the chimneys of the sadness factories and hung over the city like bad news. And in the depths of the city, beyond the old zone of ruined buildings that looked like broken hearts, there lived a happy young fellow by the name of Harun, the only child of the storyteller Rashid Khalifa, whose cheerfulness was famous throughout that unhappy metropolis, and whose never-ending stream of tall, short, winding tales had earned him not one, but two nicknames. To his admirers, he was Rashid, the ocean of notions, as stuffed with cheery stories as the sea was full of glumfish. But to his jealous rivals, he was the Shah of Blah. Now that is just the beginning of one of my favourite, somewhat not really children's books, but books which children love, which is about the power of storytelling, which is, of course, Salman Rushdie's Harun and the Sea of Stories. And I think that if one of the things that I find, having listened to a lot of people entertaining children with stories, is that there tends to be an over-anxiousness on the part of the teacher or the author or the storyteller to excite the children and make it all very kind of like shouty, and you end up with them shouting a lot. Yeah, and then the rabbit came and he attacked the... And the children are like, yeah, okay, like calm down. And I think one of the keys to a good storytelling is that you talk quite softly and you give them something they actually want to listen to. It's not about jumping around. It's actually about stopping jumping around and letting those pauses build and coming in with a little bit and talking quite softly. Because I remember going to a play once, Shakespeare, in the Royal Shakespeare Company. Fantastic theatre and everything. It was The Tempest, I think. And there was one actress who was terribly keen to be heard by the furthest back row, who talked like that and renounced like that and was really shouty. And I didn't hear a word that she said. And there was another actor who talked really softly. And everyone in the audience was like this. Whenever he was, they were like... Because you could almost not hear him, but everyone listened. And I think listening is the key to great storytelling, giving them something to listen to. In fact, there was some research done by the University of Wisconsin where children were asked for their responses to stories that were told in class, and very surprisingly to the researcher, although probably not surprisingly to most of you, they found that the children were not very interested, or they didn't talk very much about the content of the story, but they talked a lot about the way it was told. Oh, we like the funny voices, oh, I like that bit where she jumped up, whatever. So the way in which you tell a story engages the mind of the child, whether that child is 2 or whether that child is 58. And I think that that is the power of stories and the magic, because we were supposed to talk about magic, which I haven't. So I'm just going to end with a little bit of magic, if I may, by one of the most spookily magical writers that I know, who's very popular with young adult readers. He does a lot of graphic novels as well as stories, and I'll just read you out a page from a collection which he's edited. This is a guy called Neil Gaiman, a very scary cover, which my son doesn't like having in bed with us. So when I'm reading this in bed, I have to take the cover off. But you will find out why. So just a short paragraph from his introduction. This collection is called Unnatural Creatures, and it's just about the magic of the imagination, I think. I wished I could visit a museum of unnatural history, but even so, I was glad there wasn't one. Werewolves were wonderful because they could be anything. I knew if someone had actually caught a werewolf or a dragon, if they tamed a manticore or stabled a unicorn, put them in bottles, dissected them, then they could only be one thing, and they would no longer live in the shadowy places between the things I knew and the world of the impossible, which was, I was certain, the only place that really mattered. There was no such museum, not then, but I knew how to visit the creatures who would never be sighted in the zoos or in the museums or the woods. They were waiting for me, in books and in stories, after all, hiding inside the 26 characters and a handful of punctuation marks. These letters and words, when placed in the right order, would conjure all manner of exotic beasts and people from the shadows, would reveal the motives and minds of insects and cats. They were spells, spelled with words to make worlds waiting for me in the pages of books. Thank you.
Madam Geeta, Madam Abha and Anita, it's a good learning experience for me as a parent also, because someone to Madam Geeta is an author, also in a publisher, and also running an NGO. Madam is a teacher, she is a publisher. I cannot claim as a publisher, neither an author or publisher, but only in my role as a director, National Book Trust, I consider myself as a coordinator from the day one. Till date, I am assuming the role as a coordinator, not to impose anything on anyone, but only want to be in a good facilitator, whatever the facilities government has. Madam Suwais is there because she was a secretary when I held the first book fair, the world. So after my joining, after 6 months, something was, I'm not learned any job, but by the time within 6 months I had to hold in a book fair. So my approach was like a visitor, not as a fair director. My approach, I never visited any foreign country that time. My first visit is to be frank, but I said I have no, I have no eyes to see what it is in the Frankfurt Book Fair. The only thing I was a good book reader, because I had only one hobby I got. It is in a collection of books and reading from my childhood. The last day when USAID program, I mentioned when Geeta was there, when I mentioned in the in the workshop that how I picked up my reading habits as a child. It's very different. It's whatever you experience. I was living in a Muslim mahalla where my mother tongue is Tamil. I had no idea what the books, not availability, except some lending libraries are there. And luckily I got 200 meters away, my district library was there. We have 7 kids. I have to help my sisters to in their homework, everything. But I used to go for mosque for namaz when I was a small kid. In that time, all old mullahs scare me. Why, small boy, why you want to come here? No, I want to come. So there was a little madrasa, Oriental, Manfol Oriental madrasa. I had a very small, cute kids, girls, small girls and boys. I had a lot of books. I was reading in an English medium school. I can't share with them. But then I take some books and show them, would you like to read? I don't know. Then I started reading for them. This is how I started. Then we have formed a team. Then started approaching the library to enroll in a member. So this same thing, when, as Madam told, I'm from a place and the Meenakshi Mandir is very close to my house. So we don't have any play field except the Kabbarstan. We used to play Kabbarstan. That was the thing. Believe me, it was there. So for better place, when 4 boys we get into the Meenakshi Mandir, there is all Vedic schools with all reading, and the same trick we did. Would you like to read this book? Yes. So clandestinely we call them and find a place inside the Agraharam, mini Agraharam or someone inside. So this way we informally formed the book clubs. So this way. So that is the reason I started reading. Because of that only I was attracted to my job here from the University of Delhi. So I just want to, couple of points I want to highlight. Madam Abha Saghal was talking about home library. I completely agree with. This is APJ Abdul Kalam was telling everywhere, wherever. So you should have one library. Wherever I visit a place, if I don't find a books, I say, I'm looking down those people. You may be having an RD, latest RD, but you may be 5,500 people in Delhi buy a 5,500 square feet flats. But what is the point if you don't have a library? I think this is a heart and soul of a house, believe. It's not showing your curtains or anything or the big TVs and gadgets. This is, if you want to find it. So it's my advice to parents, please set up some small library. And second thing, the reading should be a part of our culture then only. And Madam also talk about bookshop. Why not organizing we are now organizing a World Book Fair annually. At least Delhi is fortunate to have this, enjoying this. So what I did as a book fair director, we have started organizing reading corners like in the model of Frankfurt or Bologna and other book fairs. So last year we had 120 authors. So we bridged the gap because it had an interaction. It's like people started coming every day. And the Government of India side, they have made it an annual of this World Book Fair. It became a part of the academic calendar. Many of the schools are now started calling, can we organize a trip? So this is also, there is a need from the government side also. Clear message should go communicated to the schools and our parents that we are really serious about reading. And once the government's message is loud and clear, other thing will fall in line. Let CBSE, we have so many times I persuaded Chairman CBSE, why don't you create something? Although there was an adverse come out about Madam prescribing book, at least something is happening. Earlier it was not there. If you don't prescribe anything, people will not read. So that is also necessary. But I find an availability of, I was in last week I was in Bombay, somebody was calling, look, these bookshops are shutting down. Doesn't mean reading habits are dying. I said no. Bookshop, because here, in India, especially big cities, The real estate cost of keeping books is heavy, quite heavy. Nobody can offer. So I am trying my level best to open a bookshop in Connaught Place or some malls. The cost is, you cannot offer. The precious government funds cannot be wasted by giving in a rent. So I am grateful to DMRC, Mr. Manku Singh has come forward with my cry. They have offered their space to set up NBT bookshops. So we have set up 2 bookshops without paying any rent. You see, it's a commercial organization. So we are joining, initially we created a bookshop for NBT metro shops in 2 places, Kashmiri Gate and Viswavidyalaya. And we are all, in the coming years, we are all planning to host book reading events around the metro site. Think of a situation where in CP, evening, book reading session, Anita is reading a book, all people will be there. So that kind of, because somewhere there is lapse on the part of agency like NBT, I completely agree with me. We missed the bus. Nevertheless, we have started working in that direction. So that I get a tremendous response from all stakeholders. We consider book reading habits cannot be started after retirement. Many of my old from the university saying, no, after retirement the only job I have, we will read. Never going to happen. And it's the same in the case of civil servant also. Never happen. It has to be started. I reach home at 9. After that I read 1 hour. So 5:30 I get up for namaz. That's a kind, it's without reading you cannot sleep. That kind of things to be imbibed. So there are challenges in this field. It is making availability of books is also a challenge. Integration of the community is also a challenge, which we are NBT looking for. We are thankful to the Government of India. In the 12th 5-year plan, they have sanctioned opening up 1 book promotion center in each state. We want to create like book addas in at least 1 in each state, so that which some people come creating in a common platform to hold some function like this, to make it available free of cost. Also a bookshop, also a mobile exhibition, taking the books to the villages where serious readers are there. Look, place like Assam, you go anywhere, that whole district is declared, the classes are suspended and every teacher and children are in the book fair. And the book march is taken out. Believe me, 10,000 children are walking on the road. Where to see? In Delhi we can't find. One problem with Delhi is, I am finding it very difficult, is there is no, I am sorry to say, the reading habits is almost nil, because partly the parents are, partly teacher also. Teacher also should set an example. I never saw any teacher taking a books or like Anita did today. They are the real company. I am very sorry to hear that Mr. Farooq Sheikh was our dear friend who come forward to us and promoting books in our book fair. No more. But I never saw him. Whenever I met only always with a book. So these are the, I can only, we want to be a service provider rather than, adversely commenting anything. I am here only because Madam Geeta called and wanted to have feedback so that we can fill the gap. And from my side, whatever we could happen. The only thing is bookshops are closing down, but because of the high cost and all. But the buying, reading habits is not dying. It's really growing, especially among young adults. The way of buying books also changed, and also the kind of books availability, e-books and all gadgets are coming. Sometimes if same person reads in all forms, sometimes he is traveling, he reads in Kindle or something. So I am very much looking for the World Book Fair, which start in February, and the focus is on children's literature. We want to any kind of program somebody wants to have, schools, we are welcome. This is, I really like the book. I also read the book. It's really a guide. And our part also, we are preparing a guide to a good book. We are hopefully we will try to bring out. There are so many points I mentioned. Just I want to, say our experience when Madam Geeta and we were there in Seoul Book Fair in June. And Koreans, they have created a book city. All publishers are there. They created a full book city We can create only in an industrial estate. We can have create any other product export promotion, any kind of thing. The Paju books, it is in a real example. They are so serious. The government is so serious. They have a book malls. We don't even find even only Sundays only. We could find some bookshop, roadside bookshop. In India, the second-hand market of books is more than 40%. I am also buying books mostly from second-hand. I cannot offer. I have 2 kids. I am a government servant. I cannot offer more. But believe me or not, it is there. So we cannot forget that. So this is a good initiative. I must appreciate Madam Geeta and Katha, and Abha Madam also provided them a very good opportunity, space and other thing. Such functions and such workshop and discussions are we needed. In Singapore, they have started one AFCC as a Festival of Children Content. I am also there. But many countries are starting many things. But India, we are way behind. Yet we have so much young population living here and motivate to read. Otherwise, no. A very civilized country, and so we be able to fill this gap of reading habits. Everything will fall in line. Hopefully, our economy also will grow. Thank you very much. Any question we can take.
We have 3 very, very different takes on reading and on books and the magic of reading. So, please, if you can keep your comments short so more people can get their
It's not a question. I just want to brief my enrichment which I have gained.
Kids are smarter. As Sikander has said, that being a government servant, he cannot afford to buy more costly books that are in the market. A smarter way that kids have found is that Amazon and other sites, they offer good rebate. There's good discount. And students, instead of going to bookstores, the habit of reading is not dying. They are buying books from those sites.
They're going to the bookstores, choosing the book and going to Amazon and getting it off 30%.
Because they are offering cash on delivery. The parents are there to get the cash.
They are smart.
Smarter generation.
They really know where to get what and at a good discount. So, I don't think bookstores are losing their significance, and I completely agree with Mr. Sikander that we should have more, because the feel of the book, when you look at the book, I was just telling when we were discussing yesterday, I've started reading on a Kindle, and I'm enjoying reading on it, but the problem is that I do not know the title of the book. Somebody was asking, what book are you? I said, let me think, what is the title of the book? Because you see, when you open the book, when you're reading the book, you look at the title all the time, So there are these issues, but the children, we have to move along with times, and Amazon is there, Flipkart is there, and they know how to do this, So.
Thank you. Sai Venkat Subramaniam here, and joy. Say namaste, good morning, whatever it may be. First you say on your mother tongue. That will give lot of energy. Say vanakkam, vanakkam sir. Then see, as per the Tamil Nadu thing, I want to share certain things only. See, Tamil Nadu government make arrangements for book trade, tradition. But every year in the month of December and January, there are a lot of school are picking them to the exhibition. They are going there, they are picking the books and other things. Out of 3,000 students, see, only girl who was participating here. So that is giving lot of boost for her coming to the future thing. Then I've created the idea and proud of, say, I am the only children who was participating in Delhi. That for that only I spent 40,000 rupees. To get that joy, to prove themselves, to get the things again from the Katha, whatever it may be. Then they are getting a lot of friends, then culture, creativity, knowledge, other things. So I came with my missus also. She also should participate here. She should enjoy the things. That's why I came here. Thank you very much, Katha, for doing such a wonderful things. Really, I am proudly say We are fantastically you are doing. Yeah, from a small kid to the elderly people. Okay. Thank you very much. You should do more things. You should go deep into the villages first, because literacy is there. You should go to the deep thing. Thank you very much for a wonderful thing. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
सर मैं छत्तीसगढ़ से हूँ। यहाँ जो पालक हैं सब पढ़े लिखे हैं, धनाढ़ भी हैं। मूल समस्या ये है कि कई जगह जैसे हमारे क्षेत्र में जो समस्या है, हमारे यहाँ अधिकांश व्यापारियों के बच्चे हैं और अम्बुजा सीमेंट के कर्मचारियों के बच्चे हैं। मूल समस्या ये होती है कि जैसे उनका बर्थडे आता है हम भी नहीं, ये एक बड़ी समस्या है, तो इसका समाधान कैसे हो?
Have so many bookstores in New Delhi, and you have easy access to go there. But you know what about India, a poor India and poverty below India? There are so many children. You are talking about these children. These children, they have access, and 4 hours, 4 days they came over here. But what about those children? They don't have money to purchase books. Okay, even they don't know names of the books. Chaitanya 3 Mysteries of Life and other books. So they don't know any exposure to these books. Okay, so when they will read these books, they will have the exposure to these books or not, and they don't have any exhibitions of any book exhibitions to them. So how can they go there, and how can they have access to these bookstores and all?
हर जगह ये प्रॉब्लम होती है कि कैसे हम क्रिएट करें ये जो जब हमको पेरेंट्स से सपोर्ट नहीं मिल रहा है तो किस तरह से हम ये इंटरेस्ट क्रिएट करें बच्चों में। तो ये आपकी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, ये चीज़ हम नहीं जरूर ओरिएंटेशन जरूर करिए, उनको बुलाइए जरूर, उनसे बातें जरूर करिए। और पेरेंट आजकल का समझता है, वो भी लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स दे डोंट नो एनी बेटर, वो सोचते हैं कि एक मोबाइल दे दे रहे, तो इसलिए इस चीज को yes they don't know any better, so it is while we are educating the children, it is also our duty to empower our parents also, to talk to our parents. Parenting is becoming very difficult, and schools, the responsibility of the school has now gone beyond the student. It has reached homes also. We have to talk to our parents also.
We have 2 comments here, yes, and we have 2 people here. Okay.
Yeah, I have one answer for a question that was raised over there for, books reaching out to poor children and things like that. I just want to share that Katha, in its mission to enhance the joy of reading, had 2 vans which was beautifully named by Geeta as Wow Wow vans, which was bookshop on wheels and workshop on wheels, which used to go out to communities to encourage children to read. And they would, park themselves in the center of the place in the communities, and children would rush to those vans. And once a week, a resource person was also, put on the van so that they could go and do some theatre and reading activities with children. So this is another way, apart from bookshops and bookstores and things, this is another way which books can be reached out to children. And the other thing that I would like to highlight, which we may dwell on in the next session in greater detail, is that we are all talking about stories and reading, and then on the other hand we are talking about a curriculum and a syllabus. So can we look at a way in which we say, okay, there is a story and the curriculum is embedded over there. You are doing the learning for the child through the stories itself. So that's another way. That is a thought I want to leave to you, which we will of course be taking in the next session. So are textbooks important, or you can do with the storybooks? So you are doing 2 things. You are making the learning available to the child wants to learn, and you are enhancing the joy of reading also at the same time. Thank you.
And the children have to read those stories. These are non-optional. We're talking lakhs and lakhs and lakhs and possibly crores. Why on earth are you even wasting your breath talking about this stuff? This is irrelevant. we should really be talking about textbooks and what kind of quality of writing and what kind of values and all of those things are happening in textbooks, because that's what's going to make the big impact. And I nearly went home and resigned my job and cried. But on the other hand, I thought, no, actually, he's completely right. So thank you for bringing that up. I think it's a really important point.
Good afternoon. I am Samit from Bhubaneswar, Odisha. As a teacher, I have two queries here. I find that mostly also because most of the time we spend in the schools only, and hardly we have any time at home to read and all that. So can we have some time for teachers also in the school during that academic hours, so that we can also share and study during the school hours?
Good afternoon, I am Nalini Singh from DPS Haridwar. I think we are blessed that we have a diverse culture, but I think we shouldn't be prejudiced against Indian writers or foreign writers. We should have equal representation of different type of writers in our books, and there should be diversity in our books first of all. And what is common is actually human emotions, feelings. The kind of experiences that we go through are almost the same all through the world. And a problem came that a phase came in between that parents were actually obsessed with subjects like science and maths. And but now some kind of awareness is coming and mindset is changing. Parents are realizing that even literature is important and we can have good careers in literature field as well. So I think if this awareness is promoted, it will be good for reading.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I have some suggestions. See, Panchatantra is one of the best examples where actually that Vishnu Sharma has taught the princess through a set of stories. And probably we can just look at that example and see how we can just inculcate and pick up a few things and impart probably this moral education kind of thing to the students from the early childhood. And afterwards they can set on to learning the alphabet and all these things, probably we can just use that. And apart from that, if you look at the education system and see what we have been doing, there is a lot of gap and we hardly use whatever we learned in our education when we are working. We have to see like what is required to perform the tasks that are important for in various industries, and we can teach the things that are required to understand the things. If they have to learn something and if some other thing is required, then we can teach those things, but we can evaluate on those aspects which are really required and which are important, and we can just leave the rest of the things rather than evaluating on all the aspects. Probably if XYZ skills are required to perform the duties, so the kids can be evaluated only in those things. To acquire those XYZ skills, probably you may need to know ABC, but we need not evaluate them in ABC. When we evaluate them in XYZ, automatically the ABC skills are going to be evaluated.
And we will be handing a few things. I'm from the Shri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi. And while I was hearing all of you, I thought I'll take the chance of asking that we work very, very closely with the village community of Talaramgarh, and I do lead a teacher education program there. And one of the principles of Shri Aurobindo has always been to start from the near to the far. And when I look at the books which have come as textbooks for the whole Uttaranchal area, there seems to be no connect to life. So I'm taking this opportunity also to plead with publishers who are here and asking Geeta to help us out with that. That how do we, because there are many stories which are there. Children do not know about the flora and fauna of their own space anymore. They do not know about their art, their culture. And we have initiated a movement where we have started writing even silly things like recipes of yesteryears, because I see children eating a lot of chips there and not knowing the little ragi that they were being brought up on. So somewhere I think conferences like these, workshops like these are very, very fertile grounds, because what Geeta has done is the magic of not only being a writer but also having roped in a lot of people who will help us with these things. So one of the initiatives is, can from forums like these you help marginalized people like me to get those stories somehow published, to get those tales somehow reach out, because India in its diversity also needs to be understood. If a story is coming from Uttaranchal, I think that's geography in the making. There is science, there is mathematics, and there is a lot of language. There's a difference between a sir and a shur, which will remain what the Kumaon language would do. So I'm not usurping space, but I'm just saying, can you help the marginalized people like us and have those books printed, because we have many a tale to tell. Thank you so much.
I just want to share because project closely to create a character where from private digital publisher will come and take. That's kind of work going on, but how long it will take, we don't know. But IT Ministry, Mr. Kapil Sibal has assured us funds will be made available. Meeting is going on, but 2-3 rounds. So we don't want to give it to a government publisher. There is an idea of setting up a government company, non-profitable company, to run this with members from different CBSE, MBT and other CBT like that. Secondly, I rightly told, I just share some of my memory there. So when we were younger in the city, and we boys, we normally take good novels, Agatha Christie or something, when we travel in the buses, just to get attention of the girls. Now it is no more. Now it is no more. We simply wear, the boys wearing, showing up their branded jeans and mobile And bike, that time it was there. We don't have a bike, but we used to have a small key with a lengthy chain just to have. So I'm a city boy, we used to be very smart and just crash. So what I want to say, if somebody read in a book, train, we see it's a things, we see it differently. The teachers are role model. So as far as possible, if you don't read, at least show that you are reading. That will be one message. As far as the reaching of books, जैसा आपने कहा है, मैं बिल्कुल मानता हूँ. तो एक नेशनल लेवल बॉडी है, एनबीटी हम काम करते हैं. किसी भी स्कूल में कोई अगर इस तरह का प्रोग्राम करना है, we always there. I think you are from Andhra Pradesh. I just want to mention, 7th to last 7th we started a book fair in Hyderabad. We put up 370 stalls, never in the history of Hyderabad. And the last day, every day, people about anything 80,000 to 1 lakh visited, never in the history. And the governor has called me here, how could you do this magic? No way. I never, being an IPS officer, I never had a chance to see a book fair like this. It's not always people think book fair means getting discounts. Discounts, so sale wala kaam to har jagah laga hota, sale kisi mall mein laga dijiye. It's not like that. As a parent, you have to take them to the libraries and you just so that at least get some books issued to you. Then your children get an interest, rightly, madam rightly said. Parent, we should act like that. There are people, there are in the parents also, अरे इस पढ़ के क्या होगा, मार्क तो कुछ मिलना नहीं, क्या पढ़ना? तो everything, life जो है, life में कोई काम होता है, उसके लिए मार्क नहीं मिलता है. Life is a great, lesson to be learned. Fortunately, I was in a high impact program in senior management people in Bangalore last year. There are more than 1,000 applications. They selected only 40. I was 38 who are engineers, techies, high. You can name any kind of IT organization. They have worked there across the globe protest. I was the one who studied history and management and like that law. I was there. Another guy is from bank. He's a general manager from bank. In the case laws, they stood so many. I was just sleeping and the professor just asking, Mr. Sikander, how do you deal this? I get it casually. Look, so you people, we are gone into, because they climb the ladder very fast. But human skill, they are lacking. देखिए मैं बिल्कुल मानता हूँ आपकी बात जो है अभी पेरेंट्स का जो नजरिया है चेंज है. People are thinking differently. Parents are thinking, आपको सब कुछ, आपके पास IIT है, सब कुछ भी IIT Delhi से PhD है, सब कुछ है. End of the day, you failed in your life. What to do? These books give you your life skills. So just I want to have a message. Reading is supposed to be a fun and should not be a burden or in a mundane routine. It should not look like a burden. Also, it should not read like a mundane routine. It should read for fun. That is an own message I want to put. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Publishers printing 2,000 books. If you print 3,000 to 4,000 books, you come to you break even. But you never come to that stage at all. Most of us are printing 1,000, 1,500. We are very happy when we print 1,500 books because the reading habit is not there. And therefore, you know what, Jayashree was saying, the cost of books goes up because we are not subsidized. We have to pay for everything. You have to pay for your all the things that you're doing over here. You have to pay your illustrators, your writers, and then you pay 50% to your bookshops. So if I'm putting the price at 100 rupees, the publisher gets only 50 rupees out of it. 50 rupees goes to the bookshop for them to sell the book properly. So you'll find that invariably most publishers, that's why you don't have very good publishers over here in our country, though we have so many children who want to read. The second point I would like to make is, reading is not just, as you had mentioned, it's not something which is just literature. Reading is a habit you need, whether you're becoming a scientist, you're becoming an engineer, you're becoming a doctor, whatever you're becoming. You may want to become a whiz-kid in computers, but unless the child is reading, they are not going to be able to, because the literally imagination which is created by reading is what sparks off all the other imaginations. You need to have a creative thinker to survive in the 21st century. It's always been so. But it's become more and more important to have that creative thinker, and books are one of the cheaper ways of getting this kind of creativity. Of course, you can take your children rock climbing and you can take them across the world, you can travel with them, and many people have traveled. Travel is a great way of opening up the mind. But armchair travel, reading books, is the cheapest way in which you can open up the world to children. And finally, I'd like to say, when I was in Harvard, Harvard University has management through fictions. They have a course where they teach their management. You know that Harvard has the best management courses, they have the best law courses, they have the best medical courses over there, but they have fictions. Why do they have fictions? I think we need to question the role of fiction, not just for developing leisure time reading, but it has a lot of fallout from that. It develops creativity, it develops curiosity, it develops critical thinking. It helps children to understand what's happening on television, what's happening on film, because sometimes we are all held, captive to that mass culture. We are not able to move into a critical culture of questioning. And I think the story makes you question. And that's why the story becomes important. It's not just for any small children or older children. When Nupa invites me to talk to the teachers also say, हाँ ठीक है, ये छोटे बच्चों के लिए कहानी वो बिल्कुल ठीक है. But हम 10वीं के साथ हम काम कर रहे हैं, 10वीं में काम कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ कहानी को कैसा हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं? It's not a question of whether I'm working in 10th or I'm working in preschool. The story becomes important across all age groups. And when we have somebody like Anju who turns the spotlight onto the she calls herself marginalized, and turns the spotlight onto the margins, then you'll see that the margins are as effective. And we need to say that we who are sitting center stage over here, because we can speak in English and we can sort of talk in English, because we occupy that position of power that Sukrita was talking about, of being able to attract attention to ourselves. But if we can turn the spotlight onto our languages, onto the margins, we'll find that creativity that comes from there, that heterogeneity which comes from there, that plurality which comes from there will enrich all of us in our classrooms and in what we are doing. I hope that in the afternoon session we'll get a lot more ideas from you. The morning session comes to an end with this session, and in the afternoon we are going to be talking about your innovations, your creativity, how do we carry those ideas forward. So I look forward to having you at lunch and later on, and I invite all of you for lunch, and thank you so much.
Is there a Sangeeta Joshi in the audience? And Sunita Vinay, if you are here, please, would you just come up for 5 minutes?